section to cbp.gov following the sessions this week. With that, we'll do a quick overview of what we will be doing today. I'll introduce you to our presenters and speakers today, and then give you a quick update on the Automated Commercial Environment, or ACE, to let you know what we're up to these days. And then after that, Sheila and Carlos will run through the Enhancements to ACE Truck Manifest Phase 1 training demonstration, which will include accessing and navigating the new Truck Manifest Trade Portal, creating a manifest, creating a bill of lading. And then we're going to do a Q&A session, which will go through and answer all of your questions. And then at the end, we will do a quick survey. As I mentioned, our speakers today are Carlos Rodriguez, an Information Technology Specialist with the Readiness and Deployment Branch, Sheila Yuha, who is a Senior Instructional Systems Designer with the Training Branch of TTO, and then Linda Olson, who is the Truck Capability Owner and a Client Representative here for TTO as well. Then again, my name is Darla Armstrong. I work with the Readiness and Deployment Branch. So I'll give you a quick overview of ACE, or the Automated Commercial Environment, and where we are today. So ACE is the United States single window, the primary processing system through which the trade-related data required by all government agencies is submitted and processed. Across CBP and 49 partner government agencies, or PGAs, agreements are in place to transmit import and export data electronically. This has meant a transition away from paper-based procedures to a faster, more streamlined process for both government and industry. All functionality scheduled for delivery in ACE is now available, including all import manifest, cargo release, post-release, export, and PGA integration capabilities. In recent years, the transition to ACE has been reinforced by a February 2014 executive order, as well as by provisions in the Trade Facilitation and Trade Enforcement Act of 2015, or TIFTIA, completion of the U.S. single window, and the increased legislative focus for ACE is understandable in light of our trade statistics. In fiscal year 2019, CBP processed more than $2.6 trillion in imports, almost $1.7 trillion in exports, and collected approximately $80 billion in duties, taxes, and fees. The adoption of ACE as the single window has completely transformed the way the country processes trade and has resulted in efficiencies across the trade community and the supply chain. For example, ACE provides operational capabilities to support automated interactions between PGAs to enable real-time decision-making, reducing international trade transaction costs for business and government, improve data quality, which further supports risk management and contributes streamlined processing, and strengthen border security by providing government officials with better automated tools and information for facilitating and release and clearance of cargo, supporting decision-making on what cargo to target for further investigative action and what cargo to expedite because it complies with U.S. laws. CBP is now focused on sustaining all deployed ACE capabilities and ensuring ACE operates as a highly available and reliable system, as well as the upcoming ACE enhancements. So for ACE enhancements, we keep the notional schedule of ACE deployments, or the development and deployment schedule. It is housed on cbp.gov/ACE. It is updated as work gets underway and as new elements are added. We want to emphasize that this is a notional schedule and is subject to modifications. For example, there are items on this schedule that have regulatory dependencies which could impact the projected development of these capabilities. So adjustments to the timeline will be made as needed. As teams begin the work, development timelines will be refined and may also necessitate modifications to the draft schedule. We also welcome your input on clarifications or adjustments that you recommend are needed. Our most recent deployment was Bond Usage Table, which deployed on March 21st, 2020, formerly TIFTIA Risk-Based Bonding Release 2. This deployment only impacts CBP users, providing them with an improved view of all bonds for a given entry or entry summary number. Currently, we are planning towards additional deployments in the spring and summer of 2020. These include enhancements to ACE Truck Manifest Phase 1, which you're all here for today, and we'll dive a little deeper here in a moment on that. Second is modernizing the E214 online admission process, Phase 2, which is set to deploy in June of 2020. It's expected to further improve the Foreign Trade Zone, or FTZ, admission process by eliminating older inefficient processes. And then lastly, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife message set will implement the ability to accept Fish and Wildlife PGA message set data from trade. In addition to this list of ACE enhancements, CBP is continuing to work through additional emerging requirements and securing funding for other development. The DevDep, or Development Deployment Schedule, will be reviewed by CBP on a monthly basis and updated as needed. As new capabilities are approved, they will be added to the schedule, and a CSMS message will be issued as new versions of the DevDep become available. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into the modernization of truck capabilities in ACE. Work is currently underway by CBP to enhance truck functionality in ACE. The scope of the project will include improvements to the user interface for trade and CBP, as well as to modernize back-end services and EDI message processing. Input from the trade has been a critical step in kicking off the work. In fact, CBP convened a trade working group in 2018 to gather requirements for this effort. At the completion of all three phases, an easy-to-use streamlined functionality will be deployed in ACE, and the legacy truck manifest application will be retired. Please note there will be no EDI impact until the project reaches Phase 3. CBP is committed to no EDI changes with the exception of adding the currently exempted cargo types, but we understand that industry has a number of EDI change requests that need to be discussed. It's CBP's intention to work through the trade support network to establish an EDI working group. Ahead of each phase, CBP will provide the trade with details on what to expect for the deployments and how to prepare. Specifically, we're going to talk about Phase 1 of enhancements to ACE Truck Manifest today. Development for Phase 1 kicked off in February of 2019. Enhancements to ACE Truck Manifest Phase 1 is currently deployed to production. As of March 2nd, 2020, users are able to file manifests using the new user interface, or UI. The new UI is currently running parallel to the current or legacy UI. And on April 29th, 2020, CBP will retire the current ACE Truck Manifest user interface in the ACE Secure Data Portal, and the new modernized UI must be used for all ACE Portal Truck Manifest filings. With that, I am going to hand it over to Carlos and Sheila to give you a run through of the portal.
Thank you, Darla. Hello, everyone. This is Carlos Rodriguez with the Trade Transformation Office, Readiness and Deployment Branch. And I would also like to welcome you to today's webinar. Also working with me today is Ms. Sheila Yuha with the ACE training team. Sheila, would you like to say hello?
I'll be assisting Carlos, working with the computer, doing pointing, clicking, and entering data.
Thanks, Sheila. Well, today during this webinar, we're going to spend an hour demonstrating the new Truck Manifest Trade Portal. We're going to take a look at the Accounts tab, and we're also going to create a manifest and a bill of lading, formerly known as a shipment. So we're going to go ahead and provide you 30 minutes at the end of our webinar to go over questions and answers. So please go ahead and start typing your questions in the Q&A area and have them ready for us so we can address them at the end. Now, if you're having a technical issue, please go ahead and submit your question, because we have webinar support staff that can jump in and assist. So the flow of the webinar today is we're going to show you first how to access the Truck Manifest Trade Portal testing environment. And then we're also going to show you where to find helpful resources, such as the training guides, the training video, and the information notice and information sheet. Okay? So on our screen, we see our internet browser, and we're going to go ahead and navigate to our website, cbp.gov/trade. I'll give you a second to type in the URL. Okay. Once you arrive on the cbp.gov trade page, if you scroll down on the left side, you're going to see a list of links, of trade links. Let's go ahead and click on the ACE and Automated Systems page, which is the page where you're going to find a lot of information about ACE. Now, once we arrive on the ACE and Automated Systems page, we're going to scroll down a little bit to the What's New with ACE area. And in this area, you're going to notice that there's a link to the Truck Manifest Phase 1 video. Now, to the right, notice how there's a button where you can get ACE support. That'll give you information on who to call or contact if you need help. Underneath that, we have an ACE training button, which will take you to the page where you will find all of our ACE training materials. Now, we're going to navigate to the center of the page, and we're going to click on the Enhancements to Truck Manifest Phase 1 hyperlink. We've created a page where we posted all of the training materials for the new Truck Manifest Trade Portal. Okay. Once you arrive on the Enhancements to ACE Truck Manifest page, you're going to see in the middle some information about the different phases of this effort. Again, as a reminder, we're on Phase 1, and we're going to scroll down a little bit to our Resources area. And I'll give Sheila a second. There we go. So in the Resources area, you're going to find the information notice and the information sheets. And notice these documents are translated in Spanish and French, as well as in English. So there you're going to find information about the Truck Manifest Trade Portal. Underneath that, we have the training section, where we posted 4 quick reference guides. You have access to navigate the Truck Manifest Trade Portal, a quick reference guide on how to create a bill of lading, formerly known as a shipment, also how to QRG to create a manifest, and a separate QRG for maintaining your account data. Okay? And also notice that they're available in Spanish and in French. And there's also links to the Truck Manifest Phase 1 video that has been translated in Spanish as well. So we're going to navigate up the Resources area, and we're going to click on the Access to Truck Manifest Phase 1 Testing Environment. And this is going to take us to an application where we're going to demo the system and that you are welcome to use to test creating and submitting manifests. Now, on this Truck Manifest Trade Portal testing website, you're going to be able to access the application with your existing ACE Portal account user ID and password. I'm going to give Sheila a second to type that information in. But I want to mention that in production, when you actually log into your ACE Secure Data Portal, you're going to navigate to the References tab. And there's going to be, under the task selector, a hyperlink to the Links section. From there, you're going to see a new button called Launch Truck Manifest Trade Portal. That is how you're going to navigate to the new Truck Manifest Trade Portal within your account. The application that we're using today for demonstration purposes is a testing environment, and you're more than welcome to use this to practice. Okay. Now, the steps that we're going to demonstrate shortly are covered in the Access and navigate truck portal QRG. So if you printed out your QRGs, that's the one that we're going to be using at this moment. Now, before we go into the login testing environment, I want to mention that you will need, on your internet browser, you're going to need to disable the pop-up blocker because the truck manifest trade portal is going to launch on a separate window. So if you don't have your pop-up disabled, the application will not launch. So please keep that in mind. Also, we're encouraging users to use the Chrome internet browser, and please start practicing in the test environment as soon as you can. We want you to be ready for when the legacy truck manifest application is shut down or sunsetted. Now, as I mentioned, you can file in this testing environment, you can file test manifests. Those manifests are not going to post. You can submit them, but they will not post, or we won't take any actions on them. And again, please start practicing because the existing legacy truck manifest application is scheduled to be sunsetted on April 29th, 2020. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and click on Go to Accounts to enter the truck manifest trade portal testing environment. Now, in this account or in this testing environment, you're not going to be able to see any of your saved records. So you will need to create some pieces of information, such as drivers, which we now refer to as crew members, vehicles, which are your conveyances and your equipment, and then your commercial parties, which are your shippers and companies. Please, when you're creating this fictitious information, do not use any personal identifiable information. We don't want that in the testing environment where others can see this information. Okay? So now we've launched the truck manifest trade portal. And on the very top, you're going to see the title bar with the name of the application. To the right, you're going to see a user menu, which will display all of the SCAC codes that are associated to your account. If you need to change to a different SCAC code within your ACE Portal account, you have a Change Carrier Account button. We're going to go ahead and stay in the current account. One thing that I want to remind you folks, the steps that we're going to cover next are still available or covered in the Access and Navigate Truck Portal QRG. So again, if you still have it out, you will be able to reference that guide for the steps that we're going to cover next. So at the top, there's 4 main tabs. We have Dashboard, Manifest, Bill of Lading, formerly known as Shipment, and the Account tab. Okay, these are the main pages. We're going to start off with the default tab that displays when you first log into the application, which is Dashboard. Now, in this Dashboard title bar, we're going to take a look to the right, and you're going to see a Create button. When you click on that Create button, you're going to see a set of choices such as Manifest, Bill of Lading, Crew, Vehicle, and Commercial Parties. And this menu, what it does, it allows you to jump into the tabs or the page where you can create these transactions or records. Okay? Underneath the title bar, we now see 3 buttons. One called Crew, second one called Vehicles, third one called Commercial Parties. And each button, if you notice, has a number, which shows you the number of records that exist in your accounts. Now, if you click on each of these buttons, we're going to display the area or the sub-tab where you can create these records in the account. Okay, so this is just a shortcut to get to the Accounts tab. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the dashboard. We're going to go back to the main tab. And I want to describe a section underneath the buttons that we just looked at. We have an area called Notification. And this is where you're going to see helpful messages about your account. Right now, since you're in the testing environment, we're just going to post information related to the testing environment. But if you notice on the right side, there's a set of oval buttons. These buttons provide you information, such as the gray buttons are going to provide you reminders. The blue button is going to give you informational messages, and the yellow button are warnings. And notice how each button has a number representing the number of notifications that you have. In the future, when you click on these buttons, in the notifications area, we're just going to list the particular notification type, okay? Now, one thing that I want to mention, this is a great improvement that we've done to the application. Previously, in the legacy truck manifest application, we did have notifications that would go to the carrier, but only the trade account owner could view them, and they were viewed from the accounts tab. Now we've placed it on the dashboard tab, which everybody has access to, and your account owner, proxy, and trade account users are going to be able to see these notifications. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and proceed to the next tab, which is Manifest. In this tab, we will see our manifest, formerly known as trips, that are in draft mode or have been submitted. The way we list the records here are transactions that occurred within the past 30 days or 30 days in the future. So you're going to have a 60-day window of results. Now, in the title bar, if you look to the right, there's a create button similar to the one that we saw under the dashboard tab. This will allow you to jump to those areas where you can create those records or transactions. Now, we have a search bar, which will allow you to search for manifest. You can search by manifest number. You can search by date. And remember that we are going to default to 30 days in the past and then 30 days in the future, but you can always change those dates to narrow your search by using the calendar. You have a status drop-down list, which will give you the different statuses, arrival ports, where you can search for manifest by arrival port. And we're going to go ahead and type in this number, and we'll see a drop-down list. Whenever you're typing in information in our fields and we provide you a drop-down list, we always recommend that you select the value or choice from the drop-down list. Now to the right, there's a search button. Whenever you're conducting a search, always remember you have to hit search in order for the results to appear. Underneath the search bar, we have the results area. And notice that there's a number next to the word results. Whenever you conduct a search, it's going to give you the number of records that we return back. On that bar, we also have a sort by bar, which allows you to list the results in either arrival dates or by manifest number. So you can change the order of the results. Next to that, there's an ascending and descending icon, which lets you sort or list the information in that particular order. And then you have a table view icon next to the ascending and descending icon, which will also let you sort the information in a table list format. Now, these lists or these columns can also be sorted by clicking on the little arrows next to the name of the column. You can do that on any of these columns if you want to sort the information differently. So we're going to go ahead and click back on the table view icon to close the table list format, and we're going to go back to the original list. Now, we're going to take a look at the results. So each manifest that we display is going to have the manifest number hyperlinked, which will allow you to open up the manifest. And you can scroll, up and down on this view. Notice, click on the hyperlink, it opens up the details of the manifest. We're just going to go ahead and exit, say close, and we'll go back to our list of results. Now, when you're reviewing the manifest record, notice that there's a bill of lading count, which will tell you how many bills of lading or shipments are associated to the manifest. Then underneath that, we have a progress bar, which will show you if the manifest has been created and submitted. Okay? You will also see if that manifest has arrived and if it's been cleared or released. Now, in production, you're going to see all the other statuses. In the testing environment, you won't. You're just going to see whether the manifest was created or submitted. Okay? Now, we're going to take a look at the action menu. Each manifest record has an icon with actions that you can click on. If you click on a manifest that has already been submitted, the choices are amend manifest, print manifest, or cancel manifest. Okay? We're going to choose cancel manifest, and you're going to get a dialog box with some choices. The first one is yes, cancel manifest only, which would cancel the manifest and then save your bills of lading, so you can associate them to another manifest if needed. Or you can click on cancel, yes, cancel manifest and its bills, and it'll just cancel everything, manifest and bills. So we're going to go ahead and say no. Now we're going to look for a manifest record that has not been submitted, and we're going to take a look at the action menu again. And you're going to notice that this time the actions are edit manifest. So you can go into that manifest that has not been submitted and make any changes, or cancel manifest to just delete the record from your system. Now, I want to mention that this manifest tab is similar to what you have today in the legacy truck manifest application. This is the manifest portlet where you can search through your manifest. Now we're going to take a look at the bill of lading tab. Okay. So the bill of lading tab is structured or was designed very similar to the manifest tab. On the title bar, you're going to notice that we also have a create button. And by the way, this page is going to show your bills of lading or your shipments, as we used to call them before, that are not associated to a manifest, or in draft mode, or the ones that are associated to the manifest as well. We're going to list records within the last 30 days and then 30 days in the future. And notice on the title bar, we have a create button, similar to the manifest page. That'll give you the choices to create either a manifest, or a crew record, vehicle, commercial party. Now, this page also has a search bar, which allows you to search for bills of lading records by the bill of lading number. Notice how the arrival start date and end date defaults at 30 days in the past or 30 days in the future, and you can change those dates by clicking on the calendar. Now, one thing that I want to mention, if either the manifest or the bill of lading have not been transmitted to customs or submitted to customs, we're going to use the estimated date of arrival. So keep that in mind when you're searching for records in the new application. Okay? So on the search bar, you also can search for bills of lading by arrival port or manifest status. And we'll show you what those statuses are, either manifested or not manifested. And again, remember, whenever you initiate a search, you always have to click on the search button. Now, in the results area where we list all the bills of lading transactions, you're going to see the number of results that we return in your search or that are available in the current view. You're going to have a sort by bar, which allows you to sort the information either by arrival date or bill of lading number. You also have the ascending and descending icon to list the records in a different way. And then you have the table view icon, which will let you sort the results and place them in a table list view. So we'll do that for a second so you can see what it looks like. And again, in this table view list, you can also sort the information by clicking on the column headers, and you'll see the little arrows that will switch the listing around. So we're going to close that table view by clicking on the table view icon. Now, when you're looking at the bill of lading records, notice that the bill of lading number is hyperlinked. In order to access the bill of lading record or edit it, we're going to show you how that looks like. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit close. And yes. Okay, now, next to the bill of lading number, you have, or I'm sorry, underneath, you have an area where we're going to display the shipper and consignee name right on the results page, so you can see it right away without having to actually open up the record. We're going to show you your description. And then there's also a progress bar here that will show you whether the bill of lading was manifested or attached to a manifest, if there's an entry pending or not, and then if the manifest arrives. Again, in production, you will see when the manifest arrives, but not in the testing environment because your manifests are not going to really be posted. Okay? Now, we're going to look at the action menu, which is that icon at the end. If you're opening up a bill of lading that has not been manifested or attached to a manifest, your choices are going to be edit BOL or cancel BOL. Okay? Now, if the bill of lading was associated to a manifest, like the one above, your choices in the action menu may be different. However, if you attach a bill of lading or associate a bill of lading to a manifest that has been submitted, I'm going to ask you to scroll down to one. Your choice under the action menu is going to show amend BOL. However, if you need to cancel a bill of lading that has been attached to a manifest and submitted to custom, you're going to need to first amend the manifest and remove that bill of lading record, and then submit that amendment to customs, and then go back to the bill of lading record and then cancel it. So it removes it from the system, okay? So there's a difference. And notice how when you attach a bill of lading to a manifest, it'll tell you whether that manifest is in draft mode or submitted. Okay, just notice the status under the manifest number. So those are a couple of scenarios to keep in mind when you're working with your bills of lading that have been either submitted or are in the process of being created. So this page, if we compare it to the legacy truck manifest application, this tab right here is where you would see your unassociated shipment lists or your unassociated bills of lading now. Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to the account tab and review that section of the application. Here, just like we saw under dashboard, manifest, bill of lading, the accounts tab has a create button, which will allow you to jump to those areas where you can create a manifest, bill of lading transaction, or create a crew, vehicle, and commercial party record. So from the accounts tab, you're going to notice a navigation bar on the left side with subtabs. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Sheila to click on the arrow subtab just so it expands the menu. And I encourage you to do this in the beginning until you get familiar with the icon. So the account information section that we're looking at now is where you're going to see your account details. If you need to make any changes here, you will need to do that at the Accounts tab of your A-Secure Data Portal account. Here, you won't be able to edit these records. Okay? So now we're going to start off by looking at the Crew subtab. And this is where you're going to see your driver records. Now, the driver records are going to list differently now. They're now contained in what we call crew cards. So each record has its own crew card. Now, one thing that I want to mention, just like in the legacy truck manifest application, you're not going to be able to create fast drivers or store fast drivers here or passengers. Those you're going to report when you're actually creating the manifest. And we'll show you that shortly. Now, there's a create button in this crew panel or crew area, which is a little different than the create button that we saw earlier on the main tab. This create button is what's going to let you open up the record to create. So here we're looking at the crew record, and notice how the fields that are required for a driver are marked with a red asterisk. This is how you're going to know whether the field is required or not. Now, in this crew page, there's a section for documents, which is where you're going to enter your crew document. So we'll click on the drop-down arrow for document type so you can see the different document types. We're going to go ahead and select commercial driver's license for this example. And then you would enter the commercial driver's license in the document. Notice that there's a country and state field. So depending on the choice that you select, you may see additional fields that display. Okay? Now there's a plus sign next to add document, which is where you would go and create or add additional documents. Now, one thing that I do want to mention, as you're completing the information on the screens, we're going to provide you some validations or some help text. So right now, under the word documents, you're going to see that you need an additional WIDI document because you're reporting just a regular commercial driver's license and not an enhanced driver's license. So I just want you to be aware that as you're typing in information, you're going to see some helpful messages in red font alerting you of something. At the bottom, we have a field for the nickname, which you can assign to a driver to easily locate them from your lists. So for now, we're not going to create a crew because we're kind of short on time. So we're going to hit cancel. And then when we're back at the list of our crews, notice there's a table view icon, just like we saw in a lot of the other pages, which will list your crews in a table format. Do you prefer to look at the information this way? We're going to click back on the table view icon to return to the original list. Notice that each this panel has a search save crew feature, which allows you to search for drivers if you know like their nickname and you want to pull up their card. Notice that each panel is going to show you how many records are saved within your account. So here we have 12 crew members that we've added to the account, but only 4 are listed. Now, to navigate through the cards, you can click on the little arrow on the right-hand side. And then one thing that I want you all to be aware of, each crew card has an edit icon and also a delete icon, which will allow you to make changes to the information, to the crew information, or if you want to remove the driver completely from your account, you can click on the delete icon. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next sub-tab called Vehicles. So now, before in the Legacy Truck Manifest, we had a list of your conveyances and your equipment. Now they're combined under the vehicle page or the vehicle sub-tab. So just like we saw earlier, we have a title bar with a create button, which will allow you to actually add records to your account. This is how you open up the screen to create these types of records. For the conveyance, notice on the top there's radio buttons for conveyance and equipment. If you select conveyance, right below you'll see all the required fields for the conveyance. So you have an area to list what type of conveyance you're creating. You have a place to record the license plate for that conveyance. And then you have a section where you can enter your insurance information if you transport hazmat products. Okay? Now, if you scroll up to the equipment radio button, you click on that, you're going to notice that the equipment record contains less fields. You're just selecting the equipment type and assigning a number and then providing the license plate information. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and hit cancel because we're not going to add a vehicle at this time. And then we're back at the vehicle area where we see a list of our conveyances and our equipment in cards. You also have the table view icon, just in case you want to list the information differently to search. And then notice on the top, there's two sub-tabs here. When you click on each sub-tab, it's going to give you the listing of those records. So here, we're looking at all of our equipment, and now we switch back to conveyance, and we're looking at all of our conveyances. Okay, so you can toggle between the two. Now we're going to go ahead and click on the table view icon, and then notice how we have a search save capability for both conveyance and equipment. Okay. Now each card, when you're reviewing the records, you're going to notice that each card has an edit icon and a delete icon to allow you to edit the record or delete the record from your account. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the next sub-tab, which is commercial parties. Now, again, we've combined the old shipper and consignee list into one area called commercial parties. Again, you're going to see the create button where it will allow you to add a record. And then once you open up the record, I'm going to give Sheila a second. Basically, when you're creating the the shipper and consignees, it's going to be a very similar process. We have the same field. So notice the radio buttons on the top, and then the required fields below that. This is how you would create either a shipper or consignee record in your account. So notice the red, the fields that are marked with a red asterisk, those are the required fields. And we're going to go ahead and hit cancel just to exit. Notice how your shipper and consignee cards also have an edit button and a delete icon, and you have a search saved record feature for both shippers and consignees. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and move on, but I want to mention one thing. All your crew members or drivers, conveyances, equipment, shippers, and consignees that are currently saved in your account, those will be transferred over to the new Truck Manifest Trade Portal. Now, you're not going to see those records in the testing environment. But once you go into production, into your actual ACE portal account, they're going to be there. Okay? Now, another reminder that I want to mention is, again, please use fictitious information while you're testing. Don't create, records with personal identifiable information. Okay? And then another reminder, if you need to make any changes to the account information area, you're going to need to make that in the Accounts tab from the Legacy ACE portal. So now we're going to take a look at the steps of creating a manifest and a bill of lading. So we're going to go ahead and navigate to the top Accounts tab because we want to see the Create button. If you click on the Create button, you're going to notice the option to create a manifest. We're going to go ahead and click on Manifest, and that will take us into the manifest screen. That's what we're going to cover next. So in the manifest page, which we're in right now, notice on the top, in the title bar, it says Create Manifest. And then underneath the title bar, there's a progress bar, which will walk you through, similar like a wizard when you're creating, address information or an account. It's going to walk you through the steps to create this record. So we're in the header step right now, which is marked with a number 1 in blue. The field underneath the header is the carrier code, which is going to default based on your account, login. Then you have a field for manifest number. Now, the carrier field, if you need to create a manifest for another carrier, all you do is you highlight the SCAT code, you delete that record, and you choose the SCAT code for the party that you're creating the manifest for. So we're gonna show you that step just so you can get familiarized with how it works. So we're gonna go ahead and select ACE. The manifest number is the next field. Notice how the SCAT code, based on what you selected under the carrier field, it'll just copy that over. The manifest number is where you're going to enter your manifest number or your trip number. That's what we used to call it before. Now you'll see an estimated date of arrival. You can select from the calendar if you like, or you can type that in. Then estimated time of arrival, that's when the truck is arriving at the port. So you can type in the time, or you can select it from the clock. Estimated port of arrival here. This is where we're going to report the port of arrival, and you can type in the name of the port and select from the drop-down list. We're going to go ahead and select one. And then there's going to be a question. Is this an in-transit manifest? So here you have two radio buttons where you can either select yes or no. And we're going to leave it as no as the default. So we're going to go ahead and click on next. And notice how the progress bar now changes to step number 2. And then also notice that the header section is marked with a green arrow or a green check mark. That means that you completed that section correctly. And then also notice that we're going to have, in the title bar, we're going to have helpful tips letting you know what type of information is needed for this particular section. Okay, so here we're looking at our driver cards. So just to save time, we're going to go ahead and select one of the drivers that we already have in the account. So we're going to select, put a check mark in the card, and then notice how it automatically makes this driver the person in charge. You need to change that because there's other drivers or other crew members in this trip. You can just move the little radio button or the slide button over. And then you can select another driver by putting in another check mark in one of the other cards and then make that person the in charge person. Now also notice on the top there's a search save crew feature. or area where you can search for your drivers that way, or you can just click on the arrows on the right-hand side to look through all your cars. So I think searching for a driver might be a little quicker if you're a carrier with a lot of drivers. Notice that there's a number, it shows you the number of records that are saved for drivers. So that's a quick way to see how many records exist in your account. Now, each card, notice, has an edit icon. Here, we're not going to see the delete icon because you're not going to be able to delete a driver from this area. You're actually in a manifest now. So to delete a driver, you would have to go to the Accounts tab and do it from there. Now here, we're going to go ahead and click on the Create button just to show you what the screen looks like if you were going to create a driver directly from the manifest. Okay, and once that opens, you're going to see the required fields for this one-time driver. Notice that here is where you can report a fast driver or a driver with a fast card. Okay. Once you select a driver with fast ID, you would enter the driver's fast ID number in the fast ID number field. Now, if you're reporting a passenger, you would select the passenger radio button and you would provide their required information and their travel documents. Now notice, really quick on the bottom, there's a save to account. There's a set of radio buttons to save to account. You will be able to save, actually you can't save a passenger, but if you are creating a regular driver, you could save that person to your account. So we're going to go ahead and hit cancel. And we're back at the crew step. Notice, actually, we're going to click on next to proceed to the next step. Now, we did this on purpose because I want to show you how the crew step has a red X. Anytime you see a red X in the progress bar, what that means is that there's an issue with that piece of information, and you will need to go back and review. So we're going to click on the step, and that's going to bring us back to the crew page, or the crew step, and then notice at the bottom, we have a section for the U.S. destination address. This is a required element for your manifest. So if you leave it blank, it will notify you with the little red X. So we're going to type in the address, our city, the state code, and our zip. And then we're going to click on next. Okay. Now notice the crew step now has a green check mark, so that means everything looks correct. Now we're moving on to the next step, which is the vehicle. This is the vehicle area. This is where you're going to report your conveyance and your equipment. So since we already have some records saved in our account, we're going to go ahead and select tractor, the tractor card, and we're going to select the equipment card, semi-truck trailer. Now we're going to go ahead and click on the create button because we want to look at what the screens look like if you're creating a one-time conveyance or equipment. Notice on the top, you have radio buttons to select what type of vehicle, if it's the conveyance or equipment. Here, you're going to see the license plate area, the insurance area to add that information. However, here, this is new, or actually, the seal area, you won't be able to see that when you're creating your records in the Accounts tab. If you have a seal, you must report that directly on the manifest in the conveyance section of the manifest. So we're going to switch over to equipment, and the equipment fields displayed. Again, if you have seals that you want to report on that equipment, you will be doing it from the manifest. You won't be able to save those to your Accounts tab. And then notice at the bottom here, the radio buttons to save to an account are enabled, And you can save this record, if it doesn't exist in your accounts tab, you can save this information back to your accounts tab so you can use it later or in a future manifest. Now we're going to hit cancel. And one thing that I want to mention, and I forgot to mention that when we were creating the crew members, as you're creating records or looking at your saved records, remember you have a search save feature where you can look through those cards quickly to find a piece of, a crew member or a conveyance or an equipment, okay? I just want to remind folks of that functionality. So we're going to go ahead and hit next. Now, we're going to go ahead and create a bill of lading. Now, I want to mention something. Just like in the legacy truck manifest application, you could create bills of lading before you create your manifest. And then when you're creating the manifest, you can attach those shipments to the manifest. Same concept applies here. These cards are bills of lading that were created before the manifest, and I can just, to save time, attach the shipments to the manifest quickly. But for now, we're going to create a brand new bill of lading. So we're going to hit the create button. And the bill of lading step is very similar to the creating manifest step. You're going to have a progress bar. So there's going to be a wizard that's going to walk you through the different parts of creating the bill of lading. So we're going to start off with the bill issuer SCAC code field. This is going to default from your manifest header page. If you're creating, let's say, if you're transporting a shipment that belongs to another carrier and you need to change the bill issuer code because the bill of lading or shipment control number has a different carrier SCAC code, you can highlight that SCAC code, delete it, and select a different SCAC code. So here we're going to select SMP test carrier. That's my friend carrier who I'm transporting a shipment for. The next field is the bill of lading number. This field in the legacy truck manifest application is what we call the shipment control number. Now we use the term bill of lading number. Okay, so we're going to enter a number in there. The house bill of lading number is not used. Bill of lading type. This was, I believe, formerly called shipment release type. Now it's bill of lading type. And I want to make you aware of that we created a new bill of lading type for instruments of international traffic. In the legacy truck manifest application, whenever a carrier reported IITs, they would select one of 4 check boxes that I believe were available in the conveyance or the equipment area, where you would indicate that you were transporting instruments of international traffic or IIT. Now we consider that a bill of lading type, and it's going to ask you for additional information. But one thing that I want to mention, as soon as you select the IIT bill of lading type, notice that there's an additional field where you would enter the bonded carrier ID. This is where you list either the carrier's EIN number or the importer's EIN number. So whichever party's bond is going to obligate the IIT, that's the party that you report, and you enter their EIN number. Okay. Some people call it the IOR number, but it's the employer identification. Now we're going to go ahead and switch to a different bill of lading type. We're going to select simple bill. Okay. Now simple bill, and I have something to mention about section 321, but I'll mention that after we create the simple bill. Simple bill is what we would call a PAPS shipment. We're not using pre-arrival processing system, otherwise known as PAPS anymore. We're using the term simple bill now. Now, I want to mention that there's a bill of lading type for your section 321s If you have a shipment that is a Section 321, you're going to see additional fields later on when you're creating the commodity. Like, it's going to ask you for a customs shipment amount. So just be aware that depending on the bill of lading type that you select, there may be additional fields that you will need to complete, okay? So for now, just for this example, we're going to select simple bill, and then notice how the estimated date of arrival, estimated time of arrival, and estimated arrival port are going to default, again, from the manifest. If you have, well, the port of lading is a required field. So here you can enter the port of lading name or code if you know it by memory, and then place of receipt. One thing that I want to mention, when you're entering data in our screens, notice when you hover over certain fields, we're going to provide you a helpful tip. So when you hover, notice that gray bar with additional information. Keep an eye on that because it will help you determine what information to provide. Okay. So the last thing is a question: is this subject to FDA requirements? You have two radio buttons to select either yes or no. And then we're going to go ahead and click on next to move on to the next step. We're done with the header step. We're now ready to enter our shippers and consignees under the commercial party step. So here, we're going to go ahead and select, we have some saved shippers and consignees, so we're going to select the card. So this is a helpful way to speed up the process of creating your manifest. I think before in the legacy truck manifest application, you could search for the records. Here, you're going to see the records displayed in cards, and you're going to click on the checkbox. Also remember that you can search for these records by using the search save feature for both, components or elements. We're going to go ahead and click on create. I'm sorry. No, we're going to scroll. Actually, Sheila, can you hit cancel for a second? Oh, okay. Actually, I'll mention that afterwards. Go ahead and click on create. This is to show you what the screens look like. The shipper and the consignee page looks identical. We use the same fields. Here, this is a piece of information that you can save back to your account. So you can click on the radio button, either yes or no. And then we're going to click on cancel. Now the area below the commercial parties is where you're gonna report second notified party. So if you want to send an alert or a message about a shipment to another party, you have two choices: either broker or carrier, and depending on what you select, the party ID will either be the filer code or the carrier stat code. So now we're going to go ahead and click on next. And that's going to bring us into the commodity section. So here we don't have any saved commodities. So we're going to have to create one from scratch. So we'll click on the create button. And that will open up the commodity screen where you can enter a cargo description, type in your quantity. Now, the unit of measure, one piece of advice that I want to mention, when you enter that field, it looks like there's a unit of measure already selected, but pieces is just an example. So you want to click on the field and type the actual unit of measure to get a listing and select the option from the list. Go ahead and enter your weight. And then the unit of measure also displays pounds, but you actually want to type in the unit of measure. We'll type in L and we'll select pounds. Now, where's your commodity? This area, you're going to be able to select from different choices. The first choice is conveyance, which means that there's not a piece of equipment and the shipment is loaded on the box truck. If that's what you're, if that's the item that you're using for the trip. Now you have one-time equipment, which lets you select the equipment that was reported at the manifest level. Now, if you select saved equipment, this is where you're going to be able to see all the equipment that are saved to your account. And then create one-time equipment would be used. Let's say that you're a truck driver hauling 2 pieces of equipment, and when you're creating the commodity, you want to indicate that this commodity is on the second equipment. This is where you could create a one-time equipment at the commodity level. And then notice there's an area for the license plate, there's an area for the seal, and then you can save these records to your account if you want to reuse it later. So we're going to go ahead and select saved equipment, and we're going to choose a specific equipment that we already have saved in our account, MX12. Now underneath that, we're going to ask you a question. Does your commodity include any of the following? If you're transporting hazmat, you have a hazmat checkbox where you can provide the hazmat information, such as the hazmat code, which is formerly the UNDG code. You have a place to provide the name and telephone number of an emergency contact. And then one thing that I want to mention, and we'll see that later, if you have hazmat material, when you go back or when you're done creating the record, we're now going to flag the card with a hazmat symbol. So that will alert you that you have a hazmat shipment on the manifest. Okay, so we're going to uncheck hazmat, and we're going to go to marks and numbers. If you need a place to provide marks and numbers on the boxes or on the commodity packaging, you can use this checkbox for that. If you're transporting vehicles and you need to report the VIN numbers, you would select the VIN number checkbox. And you can add one or multiple VIN numbers if you have more than one car. Okay. Then let's go ahead and uncheck that. If none of these conditions apply, then you would select none. However, I want to mention that you can select more than one checkbox. You can have a combination of conditions for this commodity. So we're going to go ahead and the Save To account is not active right now, but it will be in the future. You will be able to create saved commodity. So we're going to hit add. We're going to click on the add button just to add the commodity to the bill of lading. Now here, notice that the bill of lading, the commodity card has a new icon that we had not seen before. That is a clone button. When you click on that clone button, what we do is we just copy the commodity that was created, and you can go in and edit this information if you have a different, packaging unit or different quantity. So it's a shortcut to speed up the process of creating your commodities. So we're not going to create this second commodity. So we'll just go ahead and hit cancel. Now, one thing that I want to mention here, earlier when we were looking at the bill of lading type, I mentioned that if you have a Section 321 shipment or bill of lading type now, that the system's going to ask you for a custom value amount. Here, we are now adding a oval button in the title bar where you see commodities that will give you the running total of the Section 321 shipment. So if you go over the $800 limit, that button is going to change from blue to red, alerting you that you've gone beyond the required amount to file a Section 321. Okay? So here also you have the table view icon, which will show you the commodities in a table view format. And later on, once you can start saving commodities, you can search for commodities. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and click next. Now, at the end of the creating bill of lading steps, you're going to have a review section, which will show you all the different components that make up that bill of lading, such as the header, commercial party, commodity. Now, each section has an edit button, which will let you go into that particular area to make any changes. You also have you can also edit the specific records by clicking on the edit icon if you need to do that. And again, these are shortcuts. You can also, go back to the progress bar and click on the steps. There's a lot of ways of getting to specific places or areas in the application. I just want to make this simple and easy to navigate. So at this point, if everything looks good, if you have another bill of lading that you want to create, we have a save and create another bill of lading or another shipment button. But if it's only one shipment, you can go ahead and click on save to attach that bill of lading to complete the create bill of lading process within the manifest. Okay. Now here, this is just a confirmation that the bill of lading has been attached to the manifest, and you can also edit information. You can look at the record by clicking on the table view icon. If everything looks good at this point, you can move on to the next step, which is the review of the manifest. So again, similar to the review of the bill of lading, we're going to display all the different sections of the manifest so you can review them here. One thing that I want to mention, each section has its own edit icon button to take you to that particular area. The cards have their own edit icons to edit that specific information. Whenever you're in a section or area that has more than one record, for example, the vehicle section has two records because you have the conveyance and the equipment. There's a little arrow that lets you navigate between the cards. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, at this point, if everything looks good, one thing that I want to mention is you will have the opportunity to save manifests and bills of lading as templates. That's a nice feature that I believe it's not working right now in the testing environment, but it will be available soon in production. So keep that or be aware of that. Now, one thing that I want to mention in the legacy truck manifest application, prior to sending the manifest or submitting the manifest to customs, we would ask you to check for errors. We're not having you do that anymore because we're checking your information as you're creating the record or the manifest or the bill of lading. So that's a nice feature that now you have, whereas before you had to wait to the very end to see if there were issues with the information that you were adding to the screens. Now you're going to see them as you're creating the manifest. So that's a wonderful feature that I'm sure you're going to like. So if everything looks good at this point, we're just going to hit submit the CVP. That's our final step. And then at this point, you're going to see a message that will give you the options to print the cover sheet, print a manifest report, or just click OK if you don't want to print any of those documents. And then notice the successful message. Okay. Now, also keep in mind when you're sending your manifest to customs, if you have a hazmat shipment, and let's say you forget to add the insurance information, the system is going to catch that and give you an error message. So there's a lot of validations in the program to help you submit records with correct information. So in closing, you've seen how easy the new system is. We strongly encourage you to practice with the test environment. There's going to be a separate follow-up questions and answer session on Thursday, April 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, where you can provide questions and we'll provide you answers. And one thing that I want to mention, because we've been getting a lot of questions on this, the feature that you have today in the ACE portal to arrive and export or unarrive and an arrival and unarrived and export of inbound, that has not changed. That is going to stay the same today. You're going to log into the legacy portal like you normally do. You're going to go to the tools menu and you're going to initiate those actions from there. So the inbound arrival and the inbound export capabilities are not included in the truck manifest trade portal. Okay? So I just wanted to mention that. And then another thing that I'd like to mention, for those of you that use EDI to file your manifest today, or if you're using like a third-party software, that is not changing right now in this phase. This new application is just for those carriers that are filing their truck manifest through the ACE Secure Data Portal. Okay? So on that note, that concludes my presentation. We're going to go ahead and open up the remaining few minutes for questions and answers. Thank you for your attention. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Carlos.
You're welcome.
So we will, give me 1 second, and we're going to swap over to the Q&A. We did receive a handful of questions throughout the presentation, so we will address those ones first. If you have additional questions as we're going through those, please feel free to type them into the Q&A box. We did have a couple that ended up going to our captioner, so make sure that you are entering your questions into the question and answer panel on the right side of your screen. Okay, Linda, are you ready to answer some questions?
I am.
Perfect. Okay, so we will go over, we had a couple questions about data transfer. So I'll consolidate all of it, but basically, will drivers and conveyances in the current ACE portal be transferred over to the new portal? Do we need to do it all over again? And then also, is the current portal, which you are calling the legacy portal, going to be retired completely?
So those are very similar, but a little bit different. The new application is live now, so you can already enter manifest in production. All information that was in the legacy application for your accounts, for the equipment, conveyances, crews, shippers, consignees, that was migrated over on February 29th when we went live into production. Anything that was entered into the legacy application after that will not be migrated over, so you have to enter it again. But everything prior to February 29th should be in your accounts in the new system. As for what's being turned off in legacy, the portal is still active. The only thing that's going to be turned off in the portal is the ability to create a manifest. Anything that has to do with your account information or doing arrivals or exports of inbounds will still be done in the portal, the legacy portal.
Okay. And I did want to address, I know that Carlos just went over some of the bond information, but for this one, there was a question that said, regarding bonded shipments, I attempted to prepare an ACE last week with a T&E bond provided by the customer. I found that the maximum value allowed on the shipment in the new ACE UI was limited to $800. Is this correct?
Well, it shouldn't be. I sent this message over to my team. We'll work on it. And it could have just been a simple validation that got added to all values within the application. But it shouldn't be that way. There should be no validation on the value, and I do not have an answer back for that yet. But we will work on it to make sure that gets removed.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, and then I'm going to move over to some of the functionality questions. First off, Marianne answered, can we still do a manifest for another carrier SCAC? I tried entering MNFC for mission transfer in the manifest section as we do entries on their behalf, but it's coming up as invalid, yet it works in the old ACE system.
So you can sign in multiple accounts. That's not part of the question, but in the top right corner, you can sign on to any of the accounts you have set up. But to create a manifest or a bill, you should be able to change the SCAC to whatever you need it to be. So you could create a manifest or create a bill for any other carrier. But if you are having issues with that, if you're changing the carrier in the manifest or the bill awaiting header and get an error, please open a work ticket and send us a screenshot because you shouldn't be getting an error message.
Perfect, thank you. Next question is from Cindy Windsor. In the current system, we have used the TAPS as a manifest identifier. Are we able to continue with this?
So we changed the terminology a little, like Carlos said. The shipment control number is now the bill awaiting. The PAPS is now called a simple bill. But as you were talking about the manifest identifier, I'm assuming that's what you mean. So whatever you used to do with the PAPS is you'll do with the simple bill. It's the exact same thing. We have also added other shipment types. You can see some things grayed out, but we still have to finish a couple more phases and communicate with the third-party systems and all the EDI changes. So those will be added in the future, but they are in the drop-down just to show you what's up and coming.
Next question from Brian Miller. Can we extract, assume, or download manifest tables to an Excel spreadsheet?
No. And there's another one. Is there an option to export the list of cruiser vehicles? We don't have any ability to do any migration over from Excel to either import it or export.
Thank you. And then we had a couple questions about fast ID cards. The first one, will you add fast card ID as an option to enter a crew member? And then the second one was, if your driver uses a fast ID card, do you just add that as you're going along, making your manifest, or can you create it so it will already be there?
So you can add the fast ID as you're creating the manifest. We do not have the capability to save the fast ID yet. I think there's a little bit more information that goes in there. But yeah, we're working on to be able to save the fast with the name so it's easier for you to enter. But in the meantime, you just have to enter the fast ID as you create the manifest, entering fast ID and just the number. I think right now it also shows that you have to put in the US destination address for fast. I know that's not a requirement. I don't know if we've changed that yet as of right now, but we're working on removing that validation for fast ID only.
Perfect. Okay, next question. This one seems to be an error message from Louise. Removing a driver from crew by clicking the trash can gives the following message: error processing request, delete is not allowed, account not accessible, or link. What is the fix for this?
So I had to reach out to my team on this one. The reason it happens is because the object is attached to manifest, so delete won't work for a linked object. So things that you can create within that. So once you unlink the objects from the manifest, then you can delete them. But you can't delete them if it's attached to a manifest already.
Okay, next question was from Kalinda. What does in-transit manifest mean?
There are a few carriers that are in the in-transit program. They transit from the Canada through the US and back to Canada.
Perfect, thank you. Next question is from Frederick. Will there be an option for multiple U.S. addresses to input or only final destination?
There's just one option for the U.S. destination for the crew. However, due to the regulations on 19 CFR 12392, the carriers are responsible for every pickup and deliver to party. So the rules on the shipper and the consignee is they have to manifest everywhere they pick up merchandise, and they have to manifest for every drop. So if you have one shipper, you have to manifest that. But if they have 5 different drops at 5 different locations, we need to have 5 separate bill of lading numbers. So I think that would satisfy that question of, do they need to have, if we can enter multiple addresses? They need to be doing it on the bill of lading and having multiple bills.
Perfect. Okay, next question is from Louise. Is there a need to populate any field that does not have a red asterisk?
No. Unless something is going to change that. So for example, insurance is not required on a conveyance, but if you add hazmat materials, then it will be.
Okay, next question from Arturo. In case we need to do a hazmat manifest, how can we do it? And I believe this question came through right before Carlos went through the commodities screen. So if you could just give a real quick refresher of where that button is.
So the hazmat is an indicator underneath the commodity. There's 4 different options. There's hazmat, VIN, marks and numbers, or none. So you need to click on the hazmat, and you can enter multiple, the UN number, hazmat numbers, and then go back into the conveyance and add the insurance information.
Perfect. Okay, next question from James. Are we required to enter passenger information?
You should be entering everyone in the vehicle. You can only save crew members, but you have to go in and add the passengers each time you have them in the vehicle with you. And if you have any questions about that, you can talk to the port for their policy.
Okay, next question from Brian. Will the saved crew and equipment saved in one account be available to use in another? We have 2 people in our department that will have access to all saved records.
If you change your account records in the top right, you should have different accounts saved. So if you're signed in as ABCD, you have a bunch of account information saved on that one, and then you change it to WXYZ, that'll have different account information to keep your account separate. But when you sign in, you should have the ability to change through those accounts as you create a manifest if you need to.
Okay, and this question from Alfredo, it says, when it is about an inbound, it doesn't show the shipment list. Where can we appreciate that it arrived to CBP?
We've had multiple questions on that, and we are working on it. I do not know the answer as of right now, but whatever we have in the legacy system, if you have a shipment list of inbound, we will work on that to become in our system before we shut off the legacy system, or make sure you have access to see that. I know that the team is aware of it. I just don't know if we have solved that issue yet.
Okay. Next question from Savita. Can we view or edit manifests that we have already created via third-party software on the new portal?
Sometimes that gets a little bit tricky. If you use like an IIT, it's not going to come through particularly well in the new portal, but you should be able to view all the manifests in the new portal. I mean, I wouldn't get in the habit of creating it in the third party and then going into the new portal and resubmitting, but you should be able to view them.
Perfect. From Andrea, will the manifest information, not account information from Legacy, be available in the new portal?
Sorry, I missed that one. What?
Will the manifest information, not account information from Legacy, be available in the new portal?
Yes, anything that's been submitted in Legacy will show up in the new user interface.
Okay, next question, can we review canceled manifests?
I'm not positive on that one. I think you can, and I don't know how long it'll stay in the system because there is a filter for cancel. I just don't know how long it would stay in your list.
Okay, perfect. And then we have gotten a couple questions about how to log into the new portal. So I just wanted to jump in here. I will be sending out an email at the end of this session with the instructions on how to log into the testing environment, how to access the trade portal, and then also the resources that we have available. So you will receive, as long as you input your email when you registered for this event, you will receive an email with those 3 instructions. Okay, so, and we had another question about, it says, what about drivers without a fast card? So I'm not sure which one that one's referring to, but take that one, Linda.
I'm not exactly sure where that's coming from, but any driver who doesn't have a fast card will have to have a WIDI compliant document. So if they have a commercial driver's license, then they'll have to have some other document added, whether or not it's a passport or what other document, and then that's what they'll be required to have when they get to the border. If you have the fast card, that's your proof of citizenship. So if you have an enhanced driver's license, you just need to end that. But if it's only a commercial driver's license and it's not enhanced, you'll have to add 2 pieces of documentation.
Okay, next question from Danielle. Will we be able to save default shippers and consignees to each crew or vehicle? So if we have a driver who always carries shipments from the same location to the same location, will that be saved to his information, or will we have to pull that each time?
So right now you cannot. We are working on templates. We're working on 3 different types of templates. One is the commodity. So if you have one specific commodity and it comes from the same shipper, same consignee, same exact everything, or your commodity, sorry, has all the same weight, all that, you can save that as a template. You can also save a bill of lading with the template with the same shipper, consignee, commodity. And then you can also save a manifest as a template, but you would just have to go enter like the bill of lading numbers. So you can do any form of that. So we'll have a manifest template, a bill of lading template, and a commodity template, and then you can use it how you need to do it on your business practice. That is being in the works right now. It is not available as of yet. It probably will not be available before the shut-off date, but it will be soon after.
Thank you. And then sorry about this, I missed a question from Alfredo asking, where is the section where we can create users and recover them?
I'm going to answer that, Linda. That's still under the Tools tab. That's not changing either. Alfred, I'm going to repeat it in Spanish because I think I'm not sure if he posed the question in Spanish or not. Alfredo, la capacidad de añadir usuarios no va a cambiar. Eso sigue en la pestaña de Tools o herramientas. Y sigue, se añaden los usuarios igualmente que se hace hoy.
Thank you, Carlos.
Mm-hmm.
At this time, I am going to go ahead and open the polling window. I think we have 1 or 2 more questions. Feel free to send any more in as they come open, but we are going to open our survey. It'll be open for about 5 minutes. It's 6 questions long, so feel free to scroll down in the panel window as you answer questions. Next question I had on here for you, Linda. Hang on, I just lost it. Sorry. When using another SCAC, so one outside of your organization, will you need authorization from the carrier selected?
Yes, but that won't be in the system. That's going to be the same practices that you've done before in Legacy. So if you ever use somebody else's, if the officer asks for the authorization, you'll have to be you will need to provide it to them. So that'll be up to the port.
Okay, thank you. Okay, reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box. I believe we're down to the last one. As a reminder, we do have a question and answer session tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So feel free to go in and into the testing environment and see if you have any questions that we can answer for you tomorrow at 1 p.m. The registration information will be on the follow-up email, as well as posted to the registration flyer that you may have seen when you registered for this event. Linda, do you have any other announcements?
Yeah, I think we have a ticket, but I'm not sure. Whoever had the issue with the $800 for the in bond, can they send us a screenshot? My team did some checks, and they only see the validations on the section 321. So we need to figure out where they're getting that error message.
Perfect. And Linda, if you don't receive that, we can follow up on the back end as well.
Okay, thanks.
So we can pull the name and let you know. Okay. As I said, the survey is open. It'll be open for about another 2.5 minutes, so feel free to let us know how we did today. There are 6 questions on the survey. We don't have any other questions in the Q&A box, but we will stay on the line for any other ones that pop up. Otherwise, thank you for joining. Thank you all again for joining today. The poll will be closing shortly. As a reminder, both the testing environment to go in and try out filing manifests and working through the new user interface is available, as well as the new trade portal is available for filing manifest live as well. Again, we have a question and answer session tomorrow at 1 p.m. So if you have the chance to go into the testing environment or into the trade portal, if you have any technical questions that need to be answered, please join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. Otherwise, thank you for joining today, and contact us if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.